Okay, something I always forget to remind everybody to do, and that's to save your file. So I'm going to save mine to the desktop. I'm going to go, I'll call it tile project. So Dynamo has a specific separate file that it saves. So we have, this is now the tile project, and it's in the grid Revit project. And we need to do a couple of things now to, like I said, to make a contextualization for this. So I'm going to pull Dynamo way to the bottom, and we'll go ahead and start creating things like a floor. So let's zoom in here, and I almost would like to delete all of these now. So select all instances. Well, let me select visible in the view, and then hit delete. We no longer need the grid. We'll try these other ones now. Okay, so I've gotten rid of that annoying grid. Let's go ahead now and make a floor, a generic floor, and we'll use, and we'll just, well, I guess that's fine. We'll use the outside of the grid. Well, I'd actually like to make it a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'll just go around here and make it a foot wider all the way around, and then I'll go back and delete out the center one. There's probably a more clever way I could have done that. Okay, so now we have our floor plane. Now we need a ceiling plane. So we'll go back to the site plan, and we'll make a roof plan, should I say, a roof by footprint. Level 2, it's going to be too high because level 2 is actually a little bit higher, but we can adjust that in a minute. We'll do the same thing with creating the same footprint, but I don't want to do it with a slope, so I want to make sure that when I select this, that it's flat, so I turn off define slope, draw that out, complete it, go back to our 3D view, offset this. Instead of changing, we can change the level, so maybe we'll do that. We'll just go to the south elevation quickly, and we'll change this to 15 feet. And we'll go back to our 3D view. All right, so now we've got our ceiling plane and our roof plane and our floor plane. We could build a few walls around it. I'm actually a little curious as to what my final layout was in the last one, so I'm just going to take a quick look at that. I made the top roof a little bit wider so that it overhung. So that's really important to do. So if you're feeling like this is really tedious, it is. I should have been able to do this a little bit quicker. So let's go to, and we'll let this overhang our top roof by 3 feet so it has a nice bold overhang. Like I said, if this is tedious, you can just finish it up any way you see fit. So our eye elevation is 11 feet. I'm going to change that to 5 feet because I want that roof. I don't know what happened to our roof here. Hold on a second. There it is. I'm going to change our eye elevation, our target elevation to be the same. So I'm going to move this to 5 feet 6 is 66 inches. So we're getting a little peak up under the roof. It's not quite as dynamic as the other one. So what we could do is select this view and go back to the site plan where it'll show up. And we could just move the camera in a little bit tighter. Let's create a little more sense of drama. And then stretch out our display area here if we want it. I'm going to take our roof and edit it. I'm going to make it much thinner. So I'll duplicate it. No, new roof. I'll just call it new. Edit the structure. I'll make this just 6 inches. And I'll make a new category of material. rename it white. Change the appearance to white. Oops. I want a texture. I just want a color. Slide this way up. Okay, so now we need a little glass around it and a little bit of wall around it. So we'll go back to the site plan. I'll render this so that we can see through it, so we get an idea of where our walls are. I'll grab the wall tool, architectural, we'll just make a generic wall. I'm going to peel it. We're on the center line, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to wall again. And I'm going to make it the finished face exterior. I tend to draw in the wrong direction, but this seems like I'm okay. Let's do a little modification to this. This is going up unconnected to 20 feet, so I know that's wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and multiple select these three walls and go up to level 2. And we'll double check our work here. Okay, so now we have a wall system. Now we need a little glass system glazing, so we'll go back to the site. We'll go to wall, and we'll go and select a glazing system. So we'll just use an exterior glazing. It's going to go from level 1 up to level 2. And we'll do that on the finished face exterior. We'll start and go clockwise so it all sticks out to the front of the floor plane. And we'll take a look at that. And there we are, pretty close to some sort of a presentation. I don't really like the idea of putting our thing behind glass, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just peel these back as if these were retractable wall systems. So now we can peek in there at it. So now all we need to do is get a couple of other views on the sheet. We want to get our definition in, and we want to get another elevation, or excuse me, a section of the building. And we really want to cut an interesting section that gets rendered kind of cool. So I'm going to use the 3D model concept. So I'm going to go to 3D view. Let's see what this one looks like. And I really don't care at this point, but what I want to do is I want to turn the section box on. And that way I can go ahead now and peel the building back and then go to an elevation that kind of exposes what that tile system looks like. And I think that actually looks pretty interesting. So we don't need it to be that large. We need to give it a few rendering characteristics that will allow it to look good on the sheet. So that is 3D view 1. So let's go ahead now and start making up a sheet. So I'm going to make a new sheet. I'm looking for my dialog box here. I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is, way over here. I don't have my handy sheet layout, so I'm just gonna wing it here. I'm gonna bring the first view in. Just to give you an idea how we're going to do this sheet layout. You'd normally be placing this onto a regular sheet. And I'll bring the other view in here. I don't like its scale, so let's go ahead and size crop this one down a little bit. So I'll take this down to, let's say, 4 inches. This is just in my view of it, in my version. That's too small. And I'm going to double click into it so it's active. And then I'm going to change some of the rendering characteristics. So I'll take the edges off, throw some shadows in here. I want to make the background transparent so it has none. We'll apply that. And then we need to get rid of all the things we don't want to see. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is actually import a Dynamo definition. And the way you do that is I'm going to go ahead and pull this so that we see most of this definition here. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to export the workspace as an image. And this is going to save it as a PNG, which will have transparency behind it. We can leave it at that name. And I'm saving it to the desktop, so I'll go Save. And then we'll go back to I'll pull this down, and I'll go back to our sheet layout, and I'm going to look for Insert. I'll maybe annotate. I'm trying to look for how I'm going to view. I know where deactivate the view here. I'm going to import an image. And I learned a little technique that this is on the background layer, and I really want it to be on the foreground layer. So I'm going to, well, let's get it down to scale first. Now I'm going to select this to be on the foreground so that it comes to the front. And I'll scale it down. And there we are, pretty close to our what we want to see. I notice we have these blue highlighted points here. We really want to get rid of those. So we have to figure out where those are showing. And I believe it's right here. So I'm going to turn the preview off on this. And we'll see if those are gone now. Yep, but our NURBS curve isn't showing. We really would like our NURBS curve to show up. And I'm not sure why it isn't. Let me just, usually if you click on something, it makes something else happen. So I clicked on that, and I'll just delete it. And then we'll go back and look at this scene. Yep, there it is back again. So that's far enough. I think that anyone can now go ahead and finish this up as a presentation sheet.